Hey there guys, Portal Master 9351 here, and in this video I'm going to be discussing a very complex speculatory item, and it's how light and dark are going to tie in to the overall story of Skylanders Superchargers. So you might have thought that we had seen the last of the story, but I don't think that's the case, and I think we're going to actually get an expanded story. Let's first think of what we know about Superchargers in the story. Somehow Chaos is back out of his trap, and he's wreaking havoc on Skylands again. He built Ultimate Doom Station of Ultimate Doom Destruction, and now he's teamed up with the Darkness. But this implies that the Darkness is not an inanimate thing. It's a force, or a creature, or something that is actually... that you can actually team up with. Focus. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm trying to get my iPad to work. And so it implies that the Darkness is a force and is a living, sentient thing. And the lore is that the Darkness created everything, or that everything came from the Darkness. So, there's that. But I want to not talk about the Darkness. What is dark if there is no light? And what is light if there is no darkness to compare it to? What I'm getting at is that the core of light banishes the darkness and brings the light. But what is the light? Sorry, did something on the iPad. But what is the light that we're talking about here? My theory is it is a force that is causing us to find all these Skylanders at the right time. Let's think about it. The SSA characters were in the story. Remember, this is in the story. In the story, they were banished. And not long after, according to the game and the cutscenes, we found the SSA figures, like Eruptor right here. We found them not long after they were banished, because we needed them. We needed the original 32 core characters in order to defeat Chaos and rebuild the Core of Light. We needed these guys. We didn't need anything else. But if we fast forward to Giants after we've defeated Chaos, and now Chaos is going after the Iron Fist of Arcus, and so we need something bigger. We need the Giants. But why is it that we're only finding the Giants right when we need to find them? Like, if they're supposedly 10,000 years old. So why did the cavemen not find them? Why were the ancient Mesopotamians not finding them and worshiping them as idols? Why was that not the case? Why did we find them 10,000 years later and find these guys 10 minutes later? That doesn't make any sense. So it seems to me like there's something else working, and I'll get to that in a minute. So we defeat Chaos one more time, of course. But now he's going to try to corrupt these ancients that are going to explode this volcano. And we need some special characters in order to traverse the Cloudbreak Islands, which is where these ancients are going. We need the SWAT force. And they've been banished for 100 years because the volcano erupted 100 years ago, making them swappable and unstoppable, but also banishing them at the same time. Yet, again, we're only finding them now. Why did they not find these things in the 19-teens and the 20s? Why was that not the case? Why did we find them in 2013? Again, seems like there's something else causing us to find these things. One more time. The Trap Masters. The Trap Masters are banished the moment Chaos blew up Cloudcracker Prison, and we can only assume that they were the guardians of the said Cloudcracker Prison. And so, why do we find them? It's the same thing as the SSA characters. Why do we find them like a month after Chaos? It's implied to be like about a month that the events of Trap Team take place after Cloudcracker blew up. Why? Maybe not even a month. Why do we find them then? It doesn't make any sense. And we're finally almost to the point of light and dark. So, the Trimasters pretty much handle everything. They defeat Chaos and all. But now, Luminous and Nightshade are now wreaking havoc. And the only way to stop them is with the light and the dark characters. Or so says the story. Not actually in the game. You can actually use any Skylander to do it, but in the lore of the game, we need a light and dark character. So, sorry guys, camera cut out on me there, but I'm back and better than ever. But as I was trying to say, in the lore of the game, we need a light and the dark Skylander in order to stop Luminous and Nightshade, and we also need the light and the dark traps in order to contain them and send them back to Cloudcracker Prison in, once again, the lore of the game, not in actuality, you know, because of reasons. But in the game, like I said, we need these characters, but we don't need them until about December of real time. Of course, in the lore, we've stopped chaos by the time these threats arise in Sunscraper Spire and Midnight Museum. There's no threats until a little bit after we defeat chaos, and we don't find these guys until a little bit after we defeat chaos. But they should have been released at the same time these guys were banished. So why on Earth are these guys only being found a few months later? Because fate. That's the reason. There is a force that is counteracting the darkness, and I only know how to refer to it as the light. The light and the darkness are the two forces of Skylands. I think I have it 100% certain that there is another force working against the darkness. I believe there's some cult or religion of some sort that believes that there is a light force and a dark force in nature. It might be paganism. I'm not entirely sure. But my understanding is that there is a religion that believes that there is a light and a dark force. And that's sort of what I think is going on in Skylands. The light force created all things light. So that definitely includes the light Skylanders and all the other Skylanders. But you're thinking probably right now, but Portal Master, what about the dark characters? The darkness would have created them, right? And the answer is, well, maybe. Of course, the light could have always created the dark characters as well, if it just good characters that harness the power of the darkness. But what I think is more likely is that the light created the light characters, the darkness created the dark characters, and that's why we see light villains as well, and dark Skylanders, because the darkness created evil things that went over to the light side and became good, and the light created things that went to the dark side. It's like how in Star Wars, Darth Vader does not start as a Sith. He is originally a pretty good kid, but he defects to the dark side, and then at the very end he defects back over to the light side. It's not a one-way street. You can go from light to dark and back to light. It doesn't matter. You can change. And so that's, I think, why we see Luminous as a villain and Nightmare as a Skylander that's good. So you're probably still thinking, but Portal Master, how does this tie in to light and dark? Well, the darkness has never, ever been personified before. In SSA, it's a force that's being repelled by the core of light. In Giants, it's not mentioned at all. In Swap Force, evil is mentioned. Dark magic is mentioned, as in there's a volcano that spreads good magic, and if it's corrupted, it would spread dark magic, which would allow the darkness to spread. And Trap Team, it's never strictly mentioned per se. Of course, we don't exactly know. I don't think we know exactly what Chaos's original plan was supposed to be. I know he wanted to destroy the Skylanders, but we are not sure what he wanted to do after that. But the point is that the darkness is not strictly mentioned in Trap Team. But in Superchargers, he is teaming up with the darkness, and it's probably going to be personified in this game. And if we're personifying the darkness, then maybe we'll see the personification of the light as well, which might tell us a bit more about how light and dark came to be, because it's not been explained. in the backstories, it just says Eon found them. They're older than Eon. Eon does not know where they came from. And he has Eon in his name. And if any of you know what Eon means, it basically means a very long span of geological time. That pretty much is calling Eon a very old person. He doesn't know what these things are, where they come from. So, How is this working? And so he doesn't understand it. And so that's why I think that if we get a team up with Chaos and the Darkness, we might get a little bit of understanding as to how the light and the dark elements came to be. Because I think that this is just theory on my part, but I think that they are primal. They are the primordial elements. Everything sort of came from light and dark, and the other 8 elements are sort of what falls in between light and dark. But this is just a theory, a game theory, you know. But this is just what I speculate we'll learn about light and dark, and basically I think we'll learn their origins in Skylanders Superchargers. So this has been Portal Master 9351. If you made it through this video and listened to me ramble on about this thing for many, many minutes, you have my kudos. But this has been Portal Master 9351. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time, everybody. Goodbye!